to deal with the new reality of
Cette conversation va être enregistrée.
Of that online professional development more broadly. It's not untypical to find face-to-face as a preferred way to access professional development, but online is very important when you aim to widen participation for all teachers. So at 94%, this was very much the case. And again, you can see this variation in terms of the region coming through, with 98 in South Asia reporting increased levels of confidence in the value of online professional development. It was still a majority in Europe and UK and Europe, but not to the same degree. And you can speculate as to why this may be. Access to more resources in Europe and UK and Europe possibly, or perhaps South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa was starting from a lower baseline of confidence. So there was more room for confidence, an increase in confidence to be reported. So this is just one small part of the larger scale M&E quantitative data. But we also collected data at the more micro level by speaking to teachers to understand more. And I'd like to play a video now that starts to get at some of these stories.
I hope it's a short video.
It is a short video.
Good, thank you.
Challenge I faced when I had to start remote teaching was to teach online.
Shifting from face-to-face learning to distant learning was really challenging.
How to motivate my students, because many of them said, I don't want to go back. I just prefer real classes.
It was the first time for our teachers to embark on remote teaching, so they were not used to it, and it was a new experience.
I live in a remote zone in my country. It's hard for me to access to highly qualified courses.
How to engage my students with my classes in the middle of the pandemic. It is a challenge inside the classroom, and now at home, well, I was really worried.
So I followed the Teach English British Council page. It is a Facebook page, and they shared a lot of tips how to deal with students on online learning, and really made the lesson plans that helped me as a teacher a lot. They saved time and effort. The webinar gave us the opportunity to express ourselves, to share our challenges, and to listen to some suggestions how to overcome these challenges, in order that the teacher feel not alone. We here to support you. Here is ideas, here is article, here is booklets, here is handbooks. So thank you, British Council.
The British Council was always there to help. In fact, they provide me with an online course called How to Teach Your Life. This course was a breakthrough in my professional development as an online teacher. I got to know how to set up a platform, an online platform for my students, and teach them online during the period of closure. It also helped me to set up a community of practice for Yemeni English teachers.
Co-facilitating the sessions with the British Council made me feel that this pandemic is not only a challenge, but also an opportunity. When I began the preparation of my own session, I was amazed by the treasure trove of resources that the British Council has produced to help teachers and learners around the world.
It has indeed brought us all together as we were sharing our experiences. The best part of it, that it is recorded, so I can easily access it again and watch it and send it to my colleagues.
Prior to the pandemic, I was already an online teacher, but I wanted to design a workshop to help teachers to transition to online teaching using their coursebook to teach on Zoom. The workshop which I attended gave me 7 principles to follow. I found them really useful, and I followed a lot of those principles to design my workshop.
If I get to compare my teaching back then and now, I'm definitely more prepared and I have gained deeper knowledge about the use of different platforms, teaching synchronously and asynchronously, and using different activities in my classes.
All of these courses add to my resilience as a teacher and added a lot to my professional identity and credibility, and helps me to adapt my teaching methodology in this time.
It's incredible the big amount of help I received during this course. I want to thank all the people who made it possible for me to switch my mind, to learn new things, to practice my poor English, to know people from all over the world, and most important, to remind me that being a teacher is the best thing that happened to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam, for both the presentation and the video. The video is really illustrating the perspectives of different teachers in different contexts and how they have been benefiting from the training, but also the challenge that they have met. We have the pleasure to have with us Ms. Diana Abu Zaid. Hi, Diana. Welcome to this session and to the panel. We have heard you speaking in the video on different occasions, and you are mentioning the challenges in shifting to remote learning, also how you benefited from the training course and how it helped you in coping with the day-to-day actions. But maybe then I would like to change a bit the question and ask you, so what are the additional needs that you have in terms of professional development that could maybe reinforce further your capacity to operate in remote learning, cope with the challenges in terms of offering learning opportunities and quality learning opportunities for your learners, and coping with this, unfortunately, second wave of pandemic and the crisis. So what are the additional professional development that you would need? Please, Diana.
Okay, can you hear me?
Very well.
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank you for listening to the people from the field, to the heart of the experience, okay? So I really appreciate this point, because we are the reference, we are the first resource of information that you should take the recommendation and the reflection from us. So I really appreciate that. Now I'm going to tell you, before answering your question, my history with the British Council. I started with the program called, it is a course, Teaching for Success, for Palestinian teacher. And this course changed my whole academic and professional life by giving 5 modules to me about motivation, inclusive learning, critical thinking, and literacy, and many other things. All of these 5 modules, I took them as a basis and foundations to start my journey in the remote teaching. I decided how to motivate my students and did a little adaptation in order to suit the online and the remote teaching. This course gave me enhanced my teacher professional, and before that it affects my technical skills, because it's the first time for me to use Zoom and to use some asynchronous platform like the forums. So I was distinguished from other teachers by enrolling in this technical world before the COVID. And when the COVID wave came, I was ready for all of the platforms, the synchronous and asynchronous one. The second thing, if you ask me about my additional needs, the British Council already satisfied them. I asked them that I want to be a community of practice leaders, and I've already enrolled in this course, because I believe that the power is in sharing information, in sharing the benefits. So I want to transfer what I have learned from the courses with the British Council with other teachers. For example, I enrolled in trauma courses and how to deal with the students with the challenging misbehavior. I learned a lot from these courses, so I want to transfer my experience to other teachers. The British Council moderator here in Palestine recommended me to summarize what I have learned and record a video, and I did that. And this is the power that to move me from a traditional teacher to an educator, to an expert. Maybe I did a lot of things in my class that I have already known, but the courses with the British Council refresh it, and they give me some articles written by experts, international experts, articles, blogs. They also help me to find animated stories to use with my students. They give me 100 warmer up activities. Actually, I'm following the Facebook page of the British Council, and I did the 30 days challenge via WhatsApp. Sometimes I have unstable internet connection, so I can't manage to enter the official website. So they are very flexible. They give me many of engaging materials that I don't have time, to waste to prepare material. Just I enter the page and try to choose the best materials. Another thing I'm going to talk about, it's the webinars. I really like the webinars of the British Council. They supported me. They give some, as Adam said, we don't like interested in theoretical things. We are teachers. We are hurry up all the time. We need some practical ideas. So the webinars are triggers for some practical idea that suit not only one context but different contexts. Because in the comments we discuss. The suggested methods in the webinars, and some people from, for example, Morocco, from Palestine, from America. So I feel I'm not alone in this. We have universal challenges and I should overcome them. Is that clear?
That's very clear, and thank you very much. Let me pick up some of your idea, Diana. It's really a pleasure to have you with us and to hear. One aspect that we have heard last week as part of the leadership has been the community of practices, and how teachers, in addition to being innovative and taking actions on the ground, also how they can share that with the wider community of practice. Let me take this point to the next speakers, if you don't mind. Thank you very much, Diana. Stay with us. We'll have of course, the Q&A session. Let me move to Mr. Bart Cornely from the Belgian Development Agency. Bart, we just heard from Dan the importance of community of practices, but also about the timeliness of action and how it is needed to act on the ground, learn from the error and trials, and also being able to share that through a network, be it at the national or at regional level or even internationally. And I understand that through the Digital Training and Education Sandbox initiative for Uganda, you have been working to fast track and implement an initiative together with the Minister of Education and Sport of Uganda to support teachers transitioning from a face-to-face teaching to a remote teaching, and handling an approach that is learning by doing, if I can use that term. So maybe if you can tell us a bit more, also picking up what Diana was saying about how you build this community of practices as well. Please, Bart.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. And indeed, our presentation is very much in line with the previous speaker. I will also put off my video because it's raining very hard in Kampala. Okay.
No problem. But Bart,
yes.
I see you have 18 slides. It will not work. You will have to stick to 10 minutes because we would like to have time. So please stick to the time that was given to you. And I will give you a signal. Please, Bart.
I will. Unlike the previous speaker, I will do it.
Please.
This is a very visual presentation, and Amandine, go ahead. Amandine has made the presentation, and I will give you some background information of our response to the COVID-19 crisis and the TTE project, the Teacher Training Education Project, but we will make us mainly focus on our TTE sandbox and also some practical example. Next slides. So as many countries in the world, we have seen the closing of the schools in March, and sorry for this. The ministry also immediately responded that we have to set up a distance learning strategy and prepare ourselves for the opening of the schools, which is now planned for the mid of October. And in that context, we actually launched or established our strategy for open and distance and e-learning, which we called the TTE sandbox. Next slides. Next slides. I have to go fast. And so the teacher training education project in Uganda, there are actually 5 teacher training colleges, and we all support them. So we have the NTC Muni, Unyama, Mubende, Kaliro, and Muni. And we collaborate with the Ministry of Education and Sports, the TIET departments, both with funding of the Belgian Development Agency and Uganda. Next slide. Maybe I forgot to tell, we work in the 5 NTCs, National Teacher Training Colleges, but we also have like partner secondary schools where we collaborate with. The collaboration goes in terms of infrastructure, institutional development, and pedagogy. Infrastructure meaning the rehabilitation of new or old infrastructure. We rebuild the schools, but it goes from classrooms, dormitories, but also resource centers fully equipped with digital equipment. Institutional development, personally, I'm responsible for that component, and that is focused on the digital transformation in terms of academic management, financial management, HR management of the national teacher training colleges. And of course, last but not least, we have the pedagogy component, which is focusing on capacity development in teacher training, active teaching and learning, and ICT integration in education. Next slide. Next slide. What do we mean by sandbox? Many of you parents probably think of a sandbox where your children play and build sandcastles, use their play or imagination, but in a digital context, it's a bit the same. You are, as a developer, you can experiment or build educational technology from scratch. And we as educators, we like to experiment with these new technologies. That's why we called it the TTE sandbox. Next slide. In terms of approach, we have offered to our lecturers a buffet approach, meaning that we have set up communities of practice, promoting different educational tools, going from a simple PowerPoint presentation over the use of a podcast or screencasting, Google Classroom, and so on and so forth. So the lecturers could actually, at their own time and pace, use these tools and see which tool actually works best in their setting. Next one. And we immediately, because this was a question you had before, we immediately knew that, okay, we have to respond fast to the COVID-19 pandemic, but the integration of ICT has already been quite some time part and parcel of the DNA of our teacher training education project. So we knew that we needed to also put in place a long-term strategy for open, distance, and e-learning in our colleges. So now, actually, let's say October 12th, we are somewhere in the middle, and we might need your advice on how to go from this fast track to this long track in terms of distance education strategy. We also immediately put in place an M&E strategy, and we have been monitoring and evaluating every step within this TTE sandbox or our distance education strategy. Okay, next slide. What have we actually done to make it work? We put in place a help desk in all the 5 NTCs. We have lecturers that are occupying this help desk to help us organize and facilitate these communities of practice, and in terms of lesson development, and give assistance. So now, let's say October, we are already at more than 20 communities of practice, which we establish every week. We have on average, let's say, almost between 150 and 200 lectures, which is 75% of the total lecturers in the NTCs that participate in these communities of practice. And in terms of lesson development, we have offered them all these different tools, which we put on our one-stop portal, which is accessible both for lecturers and students. Next slide. Our one-stop portal has a lot of benefits. Of course, it's online, it's in the cloud. We offer all these distance education lessons which have been developed by our own lecturers, but went to a quality assurance committee. It's open, so it's free. Everybody can access it, both student lecturers or any other person. And moreover, we have now established with the internet provider MTN, we have assured that there is you don't need data to access these resources. So anyone in Uganda can access all our resources without any cost, which is thank you to NTN, our internet provider in Uganda. Next slide. This is the link to our one portal. It's a Padlet, and you can also scan it even during this presentation. You can already have a look at it. It's not finished, it's work in progress, but there are already many tutorials online, videos online, and lessons all organized per subject. Next slide. Maybe enough talking. Like you said, we have indeed a short video on what do we mean by what the lecturers are doing with all of these tools. And the next video is about screencasting. Amandine, you can play the video.
Hi everyone, this is Sendagirepo, a lecturer of art and design at NTC Mubenda. I'm here to share my experiences in distance teaching. In this period of the lockdown, I use a number of tools to create and share education materials with my learners. These tools include Facebook, WhatsApp, PowerPoint, Word, Canva, Edmodo, Diagram.net, YouTube, Porton, Video, Visme, among others. Out of these tools, my top two tools are WhatsApp and Facebook. WhatsApp allows easy exchange of text, videos, audios, among others. Supports self-paced learning. It is cost-effective compared to Edmodo. Gives quick feedback. It's good for group work. Then for Facebook, it's accessible on low-quality phones. Many learners already have Facebook accounts. It has a simple user interface. It is cost-friendly. There are no hosting charges. It has, with a simple data plan, you can do something. What motivates me to participate in distance teaching? With the nature of the timetable at the college, complex practical projects are not possible. So I see this as an opportune moment for such. The desire to keep learners focused also drives me to participate in distance teaching. The desire to improve my skills in using e-tools. Here I thank Inabel for the precious support in this component. I think I'm also addicted to teaching. Many barriers to distance teaching. The lack of college customized learning management system for proper tracking of learning activity. The dead year rumor is slowly but surely taking away learners' interest in academic work, yet some students have occasional access to data. Advice for improved practice. Let us embrace lifelong learning as a way of sharpening our skills for appropriate performance in contemporary situations. Let us also embrace teamwork. Let us support each other and also work together to enrich the sandbox. Let us offer guidance and counseling to learners to keep them focused. Thank you for watching. Hi everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you very much for...
Wait, there's one more slide I want to share with you, some findings of our M&E process. As I have said, we have a complete M&E survey we can share with you if you want, but here you can see the rates. 81% has stated that the sandbox really supported them, and 84% is really happy with the one-stop portal. So we have more data to share with you if we want. And again, we would like to have your advice on how we can go from this fast track to this long-term digital strategy or open and distance learning strategy in our national teacher training colleges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you, and thank you for combining substance and fun with the music. It was interesting to hear the video and to listen to the music as well. We were not dancing, but almost.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bart. But we have heard a bit from the perspective of the project and the initiative. I think you build also on what we have heard from the experience of the British Council and the experience of Diane in Palestine in terms of the community of practices, in terms of also of looking for evidence related to the use of the resources, their implementation, and the perception or the perspective of teachers in using those resources. I take the point on how we can move from a fast-track initiative to a more sustainable, maybe institutionally anchored initiative. And maybe we can hear first from our colleague, Ms. Jane Ego, Acting Director for Higher Technical Vocational Education and Training at the Ministry of Education and Sport of Uganda. Jane, we have heard from Bart about the experience. Of course, we would like to hear from you how this initiative on the sandbox is framed within the broader, maybe your strategy in terms of organizing remote learning, in terms of coping with the diversity of contexts, in terms of the availability of technology. Bart spoke, and I think the video spoke also about the connectivity and how you manage it, for example, to zero-rate the access to these resources. But maybe if you can give us a bit the broader perspective regarding to your strategy in terms of response and the capacity building of teachers, and what are the challenges that you have faced in that context. Please, Jane.
Hello, I am not sure if it will work. Like I was saying, it's raining very hard at the moment in Kampala. And I had a phone call just before that Dr. Jane has network problems. I don't know if my colleague Virginie wants to respond to this question. I don't know if she has a connection.
Let's check. Otherwise, no worry. We will move with the panel, and if Jane or Virginie will join us, we will give them the floor. We have time for now. So let me let's move ahead. We have another important experience and case. We will hear now from Ms. Marcela Georgina Gomez Sermeno, professor researcher at the Technological de Monterrey, to present the work that is done by the Open Laboratory of Educational Innovation. Under this initiative, we understand, Professor, that there was that the professors, researchers of higher education offered guidance and support to teachers of basic education. This form of peer learning and engagement is really very interesting, and to ensure the distance learning at home. So maybe you can tell us a bit about this experience. Buenos días, Marcela, and the floor is yours, please.
Muy buenos días a todos.
Good morning. Welcome from Monterrey, Mexico.
English with a Mexican accent. So I really glad to be here, and thanks a lot for invitation. So we are going to share this open laboratory that we did, and I worked together with Dr. Lorena Alemán de la Garza, that is also here. So let's start. Okay, here we are. So we are really glad to share this experience, because it is an open educational for innovation laboratory, but actually it is a strategy of knowledge co-creation between the higher education and basic education, and it was to prepare and to develop some skills for the COVID-19 crisis. During the Open Lab, the higher education professors, we developed a course workshop that was for the design of experience for active learning in digital environments. And we offered it to teachers, directors, technical pedagogical advisors, and supervisors from that work in the School of Mexico City, and that they voluntarily decided to participate. This is very, very important. So that was because as we know of the COVID contingency, that for us has been a critical issue and also polarized agent that forced us to rethink in somehow the educational systems. As we know in other countries, one of the first measures was to close the nurseries, the schools, the universities, and all that's made that about 30 million of students of elementary school and high school suspended their classes. So somehow the COVID virus has exposed the deficiencies of traditional educational systems that we know that relate too much in face-to-face teaching. But anyway, we really think that for education, COVID is a transformative challenge of educational practice. Well, the thing is that there is no book or manual to follow. So that to ensure the academic continuity, leaders, they have to establish alternative methods for students and teachers to continue their teaching learning activities. I think that to face the COVID challenge, educational leaders must also research and develop educational innovation strategies based on digital pedagogy and technical tools. So what it is an open laboratory for education innovation that we are used to call it Open Lab. It is an strategy for the research and for the innovation that address the complexity of social educational problems by the principle of openness, yeah, experimentation, inclusion, diversity, participation, and mainly collaboration. So an open lab can be an intermediary for both, that's mean for research and educational innovation. And we also recognize that higher education institutions, they are somehow privileged spaces to promote education and innovation through the use of technology. So an educational innovation can be studied in an open lab, where learning about the participant can be also be supported by ACT tools. So the Open Lab was developed to support an initiative that it is called Compass Académicos, that it was inspired by the academic bodies. That it was a strategy that it was implemented by our higher student institution to guarantee the academic continuity. This emergency initiative is based on the colleague work of pairs formed by supervisors of professors and researchers. So the postgraduate online professor voluntarily supported the participants through a learning flexible digital model. We know that in Mexico City, the school is supervise about 7 public schools and 2 private schools with an average of 500 students each. And since we start this initiative, about 80 schools already, they said that it was for them interesting to participate. So we think that we have an estimated impact potential of more of 4,000 students. So the Open Lab, we call it Edu Digital, was integrated by the following partners: the academic, yeah, the government teachers, and the tech industry. That is the reason that we call an open, because we are in somehow placed it in the open innovation. And well, the academic developed the Open Lab. But for us, it was very, very important to have the feedback of the teachers instead to improve the tool that we develop. And the industry always help us because they will give us the possibility to work with an LMS. So the Open Lab activities was focused in the strategy for the co-creation of knowledge between the higher education and elementary education. And it was to identify the ICT resources and competence needed to be to exchange and to face the post-COVID crisis. The research, we posed a research question. It was, what parameters can improve the pedagogical quality of a course workshop? So we apply a research instrument that we use it in several research projects that is called Diapason. And we apply it to all the participants. And also we, after we did some focal groups to get more information about the way that the teachers work in the Open Lab, and of course to get the feedback, because it was the most important for us. So here you can see some of the results, the main results of the Diapason feedback that work with 4 parameters. One it is pedagogical, the other one is functional. We have also items that feedback the technological parameter, and also a time parameter that because this is a parameter that we are used in academic to forget. So we can see that the best feedback, it was about the resources. They also, the teacher tell us that it was a course, it was really easy to use, and they appreciate the design of the technology and the agenda. But this Diapason also give us a feedback, the thing that we need to improve, that is to adaptate it more to the users, and also to make it better to get into the autonomy and control of the users. And they say that the technological ways should be more versatility, and also, well, they said that we need to improve the time that we give them to perform the activities. And during the focus groups, we asked
Marcela, I'm sorry, we would need, if you can wrap up a bit, because we are a bit short of time. Maybe if you can pick up a bit the key points from the remaining part of the slides, if you don't mind.
Great,
thank you.
Great. So for the main point here, it is, I think that the main question, it was to think about if the higher education professor can support elementary teacher during the post-crisis. They say that yes, of course, they can do this support, but they need to adapt the resource and of course the language, because even some of them, they said that there is a distance between the teacher and the professor, and somehow they consider that it is a short circuit of knowledge that we need to somehow to improve ourselves to get into a teacher language. So finally, the main conclusions here, it is that we really believe that to transform the opportunities require a coordination of interaction between supervisor, principal, directors and teachers, but with their own students. And we also think that higher education professor can offer a teaching training. And we believe that an open laboratory can be a strategy for co-creation of knowledge. And well, we were really glad to find out that the participants, they consider that they really developed their skill in the digital pedagogy and the use of technological tools. And we think that now that the educational policy makers they must also perform support the transformation applying this pedagogy and instead to achieve quality education with equality for a sustainable future. So here is just to acknowledge all the participants, because an open innovation laboratory, it is a collaborative tool. So all this experience, we make it together. We cannot make it alone. So here are all the names of the professors that participate, and also the teachers that all of them finish the course workshop, and they finish with the digital project that it was required. So thank you.
Thank you. Muchas gracias, Marcela. It's really very interesting, this initiative that is combining both a research and action research-oriented approach, also the peer learning across university professors and teachers in the basic education, and that is yielding results in terms of improving the quality of the teaching and learning. So I think we would like to hear now from the other side of the coin, and then hear from Ms. Itzel Hernandez Rodriguez, who is both a teacher but also sub-director of the school development in the primary school of Mexico. Itzel, you are in the Republic of Tunis school. I'm originally from Tunisia, so I'm very pleased to know that there is a school with the name of Tunisia in Mexico. Very interesting. We would like to hear from you, Itzel, about how you both benefited from this training and also organized the mentoring for your fellow teachers. So maybe you can tell us a bit how this worked operationally in the school. What were the approach that you have adopted? Please, tiene la parola, Itzel.
Thank you. By accepting the proposal to provide in the open laboratory of the digital MX project, I mainly benefit my skills and areas of opportunity, focusing the teaching practice within the context of the República de Tunis primary school. Within the implementation of this training was very significant, where a diagnostic of digital tools was creative, where it was possible to have the result that most of the students fortunately had access to technologies, sometimes essential for the implementation of the Academic Compacts program, where we were able to design a didactic program, effective and functional, while the use of digital tools making significant learning possible within teacher practice, despite the distant education that was implemented through the COVID-19 pandemic wide team. We have the need continued innovation in the classes with the help of teachers, creativity, and the impetus to gaze. I reflect to that the teachers never stop learning, and is an essential begin in the life of the student. The project is enriched. It is very real, and the same time very innovative learning, because in different sessions that I was able to experience, they helped me to perfect implementation of digital skills, mainly tools of Google Suites, all through the primary school where I work is in the public sector. There is no platform for education of online classes. However, given the confinement experienced by the Secretary of Public Education of Mexico, in a short time, I enabled teachers to account free for the use of Microsoft tools, together with their learning of Compass academic, it allowing me to carry out general consultants to the management of the tools we are currently facing is well as personalized consultation according to the needs of the college. Now we can glimpse into the teachers, planning dynamic, interactive, interesting, active social class. Teachers are new begins while technology skill full of new ideas motivated by the intellectual development that they can witness in their teaching and their new of teaching class by the flipped classroom methodology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Itzel. It's interesting to know a bit how you have been developing this didactical approach and how you have engaged in terms of the operation. Dear colleagues, we have a few questions that are coming, and I would like to pick up some of them while we are maybe engaging further in the discussion. Let me start with one question that is coming from the participants. And Diana, I would like to ask you this question. One of the challenges that most of the teachers are facing is about motivating learners and motivating students in engaging in learning in quite difficult and disrupted time, with the challenges in terms of connectivity, socio-emotional aspect. In some cases, it's really basic, I would say, circumstance and condition to engage in learning. So what you have learned from the training and the different professional development opportunities, and what you are doing as a teacher in this context. Please, Diana.
Okay, first of all, I believe wherever there is a will, there is a way. So we shouldn't surrender for the challenges. Because I'm a confident teacher and I know that every problem in this world has its solution, I try to motivate my students in the remote learning or the remote world by doing the following. First, I listen to my students, talk to them, and did a need analysis and try to help them to be autonomous learners, and also to have not learner-centered, teacher-centered classroom, but learner-centered classroom. I didn't focus on the content. I focus on the relationship before the content, and try to focus on the student as a whole, their intellectual, emotional, their well-being. Not only, we are in emergency and crisis and we should just deliver, transfer information. No, for example, I did a lot of things. I tried to use some to make this word, the remote teaching, interactive one by doing the following. I use project-based activities with my students and task-based activities, such as I'm going to teach them for third grade fly a kite. I let them design their a kite and did show and tell presentation to other colleagues. Also, I use art and craft, and I ask my students sometimes to try to motivate them by please draw some weird combination of food, such as cornflakes and eggs, for example. I all the time try to use online games because these generations are fond of the online games and the video games. So why not to take advantage of these things? Other times I use mini research. Please, did any research about the country that you would like to visit? So I try to tap on their needs and to tap on their interests as well. And I can't do that alone. I should ask the help of the parents. I believe of the power of the role of the parents to motivate the students and try to change their attitudes about this remote teaching.
Thank you, shukran, Diana. Marcela, let me take this point on engaging with parents. What is the part of your research that tries to support teachers in engaging with parents and mobilizing them? We know that there are challenges that the students are not equal, and there are challenges in terms of equity and inclusion when it comes to remote learning, particularly for disadvantaged groups. So is there an element in your research, but also in this peer learning that you have set up that is supporting how teachers can engage with parents? Please, Marcela. In Espanol, in English, as you wish.
Vamos a irnos ahora al español.
Okay, let's switch to Spanish. Now, some of the teachers taking part in their answer to the focus group said that at last they had an argument that parents could understand when it came to the use of technology, so that many participants were not only supported just by their colleagues, but also, I would say they had about 30% who were comfortable with technology and so IT literate, another 30% who used it occasionally, but 40% completely computer illiterate. And including those people were working with their children and their grandchildren during the workshop case. And those people recognize the use of this because we used WhatsApp for our interchange to a large extent, but with the technologies that were being used, many of them were using internet platforms and tools like this one today, Zoom. And using these tools, they found that they could ensure the inclusion of parents, because we're all aware that throughout all this period, parents, to a large extent, turned into facilitators of the exchange of measures because the children were at home, and so they saw them getting up, sitting down in front of their computers. And all this was witnessed by the parents. And once the sessions with the teachers were over, the parents were there to help the kids with their homework. So I have to say that I find some of the answers surprising because they were saying that this was a way of explaining the advantages of this way of working. So they were able to explain the benefits to some parents, and that therefore more people were able to understand the use of these tools in education. Thank you, it's very interesting.
Adam, let me get back to you because I think there are a few questions that are related to your presentation. One is more, I would say, straightforward question, Adam, is are the resources that the British Council is developing and the ones that you shared with us are free? Are they open source as well? It's a very concrete question for now, please.
Concrete is good. Yeah, no, completely free. Yeah, somebody else asked the question about how it was funded, and it was all, it was the staff that were withdrawn from various projects that were, there was about 80 of them in total. They were the people that worked on all of these resources, and we kind of utilized our existing platforms. But yeah, everything that I've mentioned today is completely free and accessible from the Teaching English website and Facebook associated page.
Okay, thank you. Then there is another question that I think is important, which you put forward, but I believe from the different interventions also we could take that forward. One is how much you have been engaging also with the national research institutions or universities in the program that you have been developing, and also maybe the private sector. We have heard from the experience also in Uganda, that they have worked with the telecom company. How this collaboration is designed and implemented. Your program is a global program, but is also then implemented at the country level. What's the interplay between the national context and the global initiative, please?
Yes, so in terms of research, the research was mainly conducted through there was a research group within the digital task force, and they looked at contacted ministries in most of the countries we worked, and looked at what the provision was for English in education systems, so the English systems. And we compiled that, and that's now a report that's available as a landscape review of what ministries did to continue. So that's again available on the Teaching English website. So there was research that was conducted as part of that and partnering with ministries, not necessarily universities, but the ministries of education. In terms of private, not specifically on this project, although we obviously do work with them in countries. I think this was the speed of the response was from March 20 to a couple of weeks beginning the program, so there wasn't really time to build those kind of partnerships across the globe.
Thank you, Adam. Bart, I have a question for you. You mentioned the collaboration with the telecom company. What are the elements? How you started this collaboration? What was the driver? Was it you who went to speak with the company, or they came to you? And how this collaboration is organized? Is it a formal agreement with the NTN? I think you mentioned the company, or it's another form of collaboration? Because we, as you know, we have launched the Global Education Coalition, and part of it is about involving civil society, private sector, and also acting on the connectivity pillar, which is trying to offer better access to internet, lowering down or zero rating the access to education data. So maybe it would be interesting to hear from you how this worked and what are the elements of collaboration that you have set up, please.
Thank you very much indeed, pertinent question. As Belgium Enable, we have like a D4D strategy, a digital for development strategy, but also in terms of private sector development, we aim to collaborate. So this is the bigger picture. And in Enable Uganda, we have been trying to set up these private sector collaborations. We have a project in the vocational teacher training institutes that have already collaborated with MTN to set up innovation labs. So they received some equipment. So there was already a form of collaboration with the MTN. And then we invited them for our events where MTN chose to explain their response to the COVID-19 crisis. And one of the experiments they had was zero rating of websites or platforms. And so then as a TTE project, we contacted MTN that, look, we have this unique platform, this one-stop portal, can you zero rate it for us? And just now, when we had our teacher day event last week on Friday, they announced it officially that they agreed to do that. So it was the combination of a strategy, which we have, private sector development, and indeed contacting them directly. I hope I have answered your question.
Definitely, but maybe another question which is coming also from the participants, how we can expand or transfer this experience of Sandbox to other contexts? What would be the key determinant for its success, maybe in different contexts? Bart, we lost you.
Yes, my internet connection is not very stable because of the rain.
We can hear you.
Can you repeat it?
I'm asking, there was a question, if we would like to transfer this Sandbox experience to other contexts, what will be the determinant of its success in different contexts from your perspective and your experience?
Well, maybe first and foremost, it was teamwork. Our project team, together with the lecturers, together with the Ministry of Education, we have really collaborated together to create this from bottom up. What do we want to do? And it was a co-creation process. And then we have established like the main important components, like a help desk, a portal, a community of practice, and these proven to be the determining factors of our sandbox, and also that it was open, meaning we didn't focus only on Google Classroom or a Padlet or Canvas or any other tool. We experimented with different educational resources, and then we added some gamification aspect to it. We had a hackathon, we had a screencasting challenge, so people could enter into competition and have like a prize to develop a digital lesson. So it was fun, actually. So it was really, it has been, and I'm not exaggerating, really an exciting 7 months within the National Teacher Training Colleges and the TTE project. And in the future, actually, we are going to further develop this distance education strategy, because we are going towards the hybrid mode of education in Uganda. So even if the schools are opening, there will be a need for online resources. So for the coming 2 years, we continue this work.
Thank you. Diana, I would like to ask you again a question. Bart is mentioning the gamification, and also you mentioned games and online games as a tool for engaging in learning and motivating. Can you tell us in a nutshell how this works? What games are you using? Maybe in really one example that will help us to understand how this works in your context. Please, Diana. In a nutshell, Diana, please.
Okay, first of all, I'm dividing the games into 2 types of games. We have educational games, and we have, it's like activation or warmers games. Of course, we have also individual games. It's like puzzles, word search, and it's like challenging games. And we have team games. It is the competition. For me, I like I found that it is more effective, the team games, to divide my class into 2 teams and to did competition. For example, question and answers. I have a lot of games. I use sometimes puppets, yes or no games. All of these games encourage my students and let them enthusiastic and increase their willingness to learn, and let them waiting my class very all the time. And one of the educational benefits of games, it is I use it in my formative evaluation or formative assessment as indirect way to assess my students learning and keep tracking their progress. Most of the time I let my students to motivate them to choose the game. I give them 3 options of games, and you are to choose the game that you like or you prefer. And also sometimes we are go to have some outdoors games. It suits some learning styles. We have different learning styles in my classroom. Some of them are physical learners, so they prefer to go out and to do a certain games in the outdoors.
Thank you, Diana. Very, very interesting. Itzel, we would like to finish with you. You are both a teacher, but also a leader in your school. In Espanol or in English? También. No, it's just we would like to know a bit. You spoke about flipped classroom, you spoke about different approaches, but still there is a major challenge, and we have seen also that's the case in Mexico, but in many contexts everywhere, the connectivity is a challenge. So how you cope with this situation where some learners have access to connectivity, others have less, even the teachers themselves, they may have these difficulties. How you manage to be more inclusive and take into account the diversity of the context? Please, Itzel.
Bueno, pues En México tenemos un programa de
in Mexico, we have a program that has been applied at national level, which uses television for classes. And those who can connect receive messages on WhatsApp. And so the kids do these activities, and those who cannot connect to these virtual classes, they get reinforcement through what happens on television. So what happens in open classes of this sort? We start with a video which might be designed by teachers, but in any case they implement them, and they include that in their syllabus. And there are children who can follow this and organize activities on that basis. And these activities are designed to reinforce these classes, or they can express doubts that they have or anything that's not clear. And the teacher then explains and takes them through the detail of the content. And we feel this is reinforcing because children can't learn everything from TV. And what we find is that some families only have one device at home, so don't have internet connection. And so the teachers have provided some hardware for these children, sometimes in parks, so there can be connection possibilities, and so they use these for free connection. So there is a major digital divide, but all of our parents are committed, and it's thanks to them that these classes have been possible. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to reach the children.
That's very, very clear and very concrete, and we really appreciate this experience. Let me thank all our panelists. Adam, thank you. Diana as well. Bart. I know that Mrs. Jane, unfortunately, there was a major problem with connectivity, and that's the reality of our world today, is that the technology is available, but sometimes it is a problem, and obviously it's a challenge for all of us. But Jane was with us with her spirit and the experience, and thank you, Bart, for presenting that experience. Thank you to Marcela as well and Aizel for the Mexican experience and for a very interesting initiative combining research, university, and teachers in schools. We have the pleasure and the honor to have with us Madame Stefania Giannini for the closing remark, closing the World Teacher Day week and celebrating also this start of the Mobile Learning Week. So Stefania, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Boren. Good afternoon or evening or morning for people who are connected in different regions of the world, to everybody. And let me join you, first of all, to congratulate and thank our great panelists. I could grasp something at the end of this interesting, inspiring conversation. And it's really, you know, a big picture from Mexico to Uganda, passing through Palestine, UK, and Belgium. I hope I can mention all of them, listening to concrete experiences on the ground in the classroom. That's great. Well, we are at the end of an interesting time, and we are also celebrating today the World Teachers Week. So it's about 18 events that have taken place since last Monday around the theme of teachers leading in crisis, reimagining the future, which are really very much about recognizing and celebrating the work of teachers across the world. And we have shone a light, I think, on challenges facing teachers at all levels in these unique times and precedented times, as we said in many other occasions, from early childhood to literacy, from skills training to higher education, and through different cycles of education, primary, secondary, and in the most diverse settings. I think this panel is very much paradigmatic about that. So beyond events organized by our teams at headquarters here in Paris, UNESCO's field office in all regions of the world led celebrations, hosting webinars, participating in televised events, and running social media campaigns. I think today's session is a joint collaboration between two UNESCO important flagship events. One is the World Teachers Day already mentioned, and the other one is Mobile Learning Week that opened this morning. And this is very much timely and fitting, as the future of education will be, for sure, we can say now, technology reliant, and teachers must be the key actors in this transformation. And the future is not simply about leveraging technology, just to summarize like this. So it's a mix of different components that over the last 6-7 months definitely have been very much our daily bread and our main content of our discussion and action around the world. A resilient educational recovery is one co-created with teachers. Let me focus on this point as we are talking about the role of teachers today. And it's also one that fully respects teachers, invest in their health, well-being, and training them in order to make them prepare for the future. As you remember, we just developed an interesting survey from UNESCO covering 60 countries, and we discovered that 60%, more than 60% of teachers participating to this survey, declared that they were not well equipped to jump in suddenly from the traditional classroom to the virtual ones. So it's about acquiring digital skills and beyond other dimension of training. And the education systems best prepared to respond to the crisis will be those capable of valuing their teachers, granting them more autonomy, giving them the conditions to work collaboratively. As I mentioned during the opening ceremony, the landscape of education has profoundly changed, and the future is still very much uncertain. Schools are absolutely still closed in many countries. I can mention a number which is related to the world population still affected by this COVID-19 in education, and it's still 500 million students. And in all cases, teachers face the challenge of making up for lost learning, to adapting to new pedagogies, to reinvent a bit their job somehow, and to take also care of socio-emotional reaction and dimension that it's not simply about giving tools to students, learners, in order to be connected. Then, more than ever, we must adopt the ILO UNESCO recommendation concerning the status of teachers. You know, that is something that UNESCO is working on since many times, and focusing on benchmarks regarding their rights, their responsibilities, and also establishing clear standards for their training, recruitment, employment, and working conditions. This should be really the next step, and I think that it's important to recall every year the significance of this instrument on the occasion of the World Teachers' Day. I'm encouraged by new alliances we see for teachers. I mentioned among the others the Global Teacher Campus launched under the Global Education Coalition this year, which is already implementing digital capacity building and training programs for teachers across the world. And we have an ambition goal on that. It's about 1 million teachers by September next year. Education must be at the heart of the responses of this crisis. We know that if its education will be really at the core, at the center of the political agenda in the coming months, teachers will be the central part of that. UNESCO, together with a wide group of development partners and organization, is strongly advocating for this, especially in this week. Looking forward to next week, the extraordinary session of the Global Education Meeting we convened, and where we are calling on world leaders to support all teachers as frontline staff to ensure their safety, their well-being, and the decent work conditions. So it's important that we recall also today this next important step. In ending, and to conclude, I would like to thank really all our partners for their strong support for this new kind of partnership we are building together, especially the convening of this day, ILO, UNICEF, Education International, and the International Task Force on Teachers, IEP, OECD, Education Development Trust, Teach for All, the Vaki Foundation, Apple, and of course the Hamdam Foundation. I hope I didn't forget anybody, but for sure you can see from all the discussion and the outcomes of this intensive work we are running this week, all of them promoting a strong, important effort to support the teachers. And I also want to mention, relating to Hamdam Foundation, the very generous patronage which made possible to develop the Teacher Task Force Knowledge Platform, launched last week, and to award also UNESCO Hamdam bin Rashid Al Maktoum Prize for outstanding practice and performance in enhancing the effectiveness of teachers for the 6th time. I take the opportunity to once again congratulate the winners from Brazil, Egypt, and Portugal. Thank you very much. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for respecting and empowering teachers every day. Teachers matters for us, and I'm sure teachers will matter more and more increasingly in the coming months and years. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Stefania, for these really very inspiring words. Dear colleagues, first, thank you also for our interpreters who have been engaging with us, the team that has been organizing the webinars and the different events during the World Teacher Day. You can have access to all the webinars and the resources that have been developed on the World Teacher Day webpage. Also, you can have access to resources of the Mobile Learning Week on the website of the Mobile Learning Week. We will have at 5:30 an online video poster of the highlights of the first day of the Mobile Learning Week. Stay tuned, stay with us, and thank you very much for being with us today. Bye.